Welcome to the What the Gurus live podcast for the latest on Hurricane Beryl as it makes its way towards Kingston, Jamaica right now. Thank you for joining me. Currently, Hurricane Beryl is located about 40 miles southeast of Kingston, Jamaica. And right now, the hurricane force winds are just about getting there. In the next hour or so, it should be reaching the southern coastline of Jamaica. Currently, the winds are still holding steady as of the 2 p.m. advisory of 140 miles an hour. The pressure has come up to 959 millibars, so that's good news that there is some type of weakening going on despite the wind shear and despite the other things that are going on as well with the system. The movement is still to the west-northwest or due west at almost due west or northwest of 18 miles per hour, so it's only slowed down 3 miles an hour since the advisories from last night. The other disturbance that is moving through the Windward Islands, it's only given a 10% chance of development through 48 hours, so it's basically a tropical wave that's bringing some needed beneficial rain to Barbados, Martinique, Anguilla, St. Lucia, Grenada, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So Beryl is coming through an environment right now where it is the eye is closed, it's clouded over, it's still there, and it's a closed eye, but it's clouded over. You can't see it, but it's there, and it's moving ever so closely to the Kingston, Jamaica metro area, and all of Jamaica right now is supposedly under the tropical storm wind field, which extends out about 185 miles from the center. Now, I want to show you some graphics here. This is the Jamaica current radar right here as of 11 o'clock, and it goes through about 1:30 p.m. local time there in Jamaica. And you can see that the eastern end of the island, most of the island is experiencing either light to moderate rain, and some of the higher elevation locations in the hills and in the Blue Mountains, they're experiencing more gustier winds, sustained the tropical storm force and above tropical storm force. So you can see Kingston, Spanish Town, all these places are getting light to moderate rain right now. And there is some of the webcams there are out, the power out webcams in Kingston Harbor and St. Andrew. Some of the webcams that were showing the view, I guess they had a power outage or something, so they're no longer online. They're offline at this moment. So winds are picking up and gusting above 40-50 miles an hour in some of these locations, south and east of Kingston and Port Antonio as well. And some of these areas up here are gusting to the 50 miles an hour to sustained around 39, 40, 45 miles an hour. So it is starting to pick up now in Jamaica and in other areas as well here, as you can see it on the local radar here. Now I'm gonna zoom back out. I want to show you something here too as well as we put this into motion here. This is the storm. Beryl is still a category 4, extremely dangerous. You can see that the convection is kind of split in two here on the eastern end here with this gap right here between Haiti and Jamaica. So this means that the storm is still pulsing up and down. The western end of the storm is still eroded with that wind shear, and the dry air is coming across the northeast of the storm from just up northeast, up Cuba and those areas and Turks and Caicos. So the wind shear is coming, the dry air is coming in from the northeast, the wind shear is coming in from the west or southwest like that, and it's colliding, and the storm is trying to advance forward with all of this going on, and it's doing very well. It's still holding its own as a category 4, 140 mile an hour winds, even though the pressure's come up to 959 millibars. When this morning it was down at 952, I believe, in the low 950s. So now it's up to 959. So it is weakening. It looks as if the eye is making a beeline directly for the Kingston area. It's about 35 miles southeast of Kingston. So that means that the worst of the weather will be there in the next, if we take the storm moving west-northwest at 18 miles an hour, it'd be the worst of the weather will be there in about another hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. And in the next 2 hours, we should be getting into the hurricane force winds. It's not past Jamaica yet, Kamar. It is on its way into Jamaica. Part of the eye, the northern eye wall, is on its way into Jamaica in about the next 1 hour 45 minutes to 2 hours time frame when we would get into the hurricane winds. I'll show that here to you on the graphic here in just 1 second here. You can see that the all of Jamaica is now experiencing tropical storm force gusts, and some areas are sustained tropical storm force winds. And you can see that on here, the hurricane force winds in the red here are just about 40 to 45 miles off the coast of Kingston here. So not all areas are going to experience the hurricane force winds initially, as it makes its approach here from the southeast. You can see it's just now on the coast there. So all of our western counties in Jamaica and parishes, I should say, rather, they're not going to get the hurricane force winds initially during this evening until later on this evening, as the system traverses all of Jamaica or skirts along the southern coast. And so that's what we have right now. And so you're probably just experiencing light rain, moderate rain with some gusts now. Gusty winds probably somewhere in the range of 30 to 50 miles an hour until the system comes ashore. It's possible that the northern eye wall here can come ashore and not the whole system. But now it looks as if the wave's motion now, it looks as moving due northwest. And so it looks as if this whole complex is going to skirt across. This is much like what Hurricane Maria did to Puerto Rico. If you remember a couple of years ago, it went from one end to the island to the other, traversed it kind of diagonally. This is exactly what Hurricane Beryl looks like it's going to do right now. So it's going to enter in somewhere in Kingston or just to the west of Kingston, into Jamaica there. Storm surge will come up east for all eastern parts and eastern tips, and then the system will traverse the Blue Mountains, and we'll have to see when it traverses the middle of Jamaica how much of those 7,000 foot mountains, how it disrupts the flow of this system as well and weakens it, and then it'll exit somewhere outside of Falmouth, Jamaica, Montego Bay, somewhere along that coastline over there, possibly Rousseau, somewhere along that on that western side. It'll exit back out into the Caribbean Sea on its way to Cayman Islands. And so at that point, we're going to see if the motion continues, whether it's going to be northwest or due west. Right now it's due west of northwest. It looks like it's going directly northwest across the island. So it looks like the whole center of circulation will make a direct pass over the island, and that would be considered a official landfall of this system, which would be amazing for a Category 4 storm. So Kingston possibly could get it bad. Right now, it looks as if that center northern eye wall is making a beeline. And right now, like I said, it's about 2 hours out, an hour, 45 minutes to 2 hours and some change out from affecting you guys. And so, yes, Kingston will get a brief increase in winds and rain in the next 2 hours here, and then that will last throughout to sunset as the system, as Beryl transverses northwest across the island, across the Blue Mountains, and exiting somewhere outside of Falmouth, Rousseau, or Montego Bay, somewhere along that western coastline. Is going to exit back out, re-emerge back into the Caribbean. But it's going to take all day today to do that, which we've seen here. So yes, Kingston, it looks like the focal point here, and communities to the north, northwest of Kingston, and of course in those communities in the higher elevations in the Blue Mountains, you can experience a lot of rain, up to 12 inches of rain, 4 to 8 inches along the coast, of course, anywhere along the southern coast. But the southern coast does look like to be the focal point for the system. Right now, winds are still coming offshore, so meaning the winds are blowing offshore here, to the coming out of the northwest, and so there's not a lot of flooding potential for Kingston right now in the bays or anything like that in terms of storm surge, because the winds are coming offshore, meaning they're blowing off the coast. But the winds are forecast to switch directions here once this center of circulation comes on shore here in the next 2 hours or so. It's only maybe even sooner than that, because it's only 45 miles out technically. But in the next 2 hours or so, Kingston, your winds are going to be switching directions from the southwest, and that's when all that water is going to pile up in the bay from 4 to 9 foot storm surge, and the winds are going to increase on that side as well, possibly above hurricane force. And so you're just about maybe an hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours away from that, just looking at the satellite here, because the center of circulation, according to the latest 2 p.m. intermediate advisory right here, is only 45 miles or 70 kilometers south of Kingston, Jamaica. So it'll cover that distance in about the next 2 hours here. We should be having a partial landfall or full landfall of that northern eye wall, or northern eye wall where all the strong winds are at. It's kind of crescent shape here. You can see it right here and denoted in purple here on this last frame here. I'll freeze it for you. You can see it right here. This is the eye, and that northern eye wall is about 45 miles southeast of Kingston, or 70 kilometers southeast of Kingston, on that little bay right there. So it'll be somewhere between there where it'll come in, it'll come ashore, and then start working its way northwest across the Blue Mountains and exiting somewhere out the other side, probably sometime tonight, maybe 10 or 11 p.m. tonight before it's all said and done, and exited off Jamaica completely. But that's what we're looking at, and that's what the National Hurricane Center is looking at. And we still have the advisories out here for others in the area too as well. Cayman Islands, you're still under hurricane warning. Hurricane conditions are more possible for Big Cayman, not Little Cayman. Little Cayman probably get tropical storm conditions here just by the angle of the way the storm is coming in. But Grand Cayman, you can definitely see hurricane force winds for a time. It'll be short if the system continues to move along at this brisk pace that it is. And so your time frame will be coming up Cayman, but for Georgetown and all surrounding areas, 7 Mile Beach and all of that will probably be coming up sometime on Thursday morning. So your time frame is from 6 a.m. to about noon or lunchtime on Thursday. After that, conditions will be start to gradually improve, and you'll just have overcast skies with tropical storm gusts continuing throughout the day on Thursday till we get to Thursday night and everybody's all clear, including Jamaica. So this is what we have here. Now Kingston is the focal point because that's where we're going to experience the hurricane force conditions possible in the next 2 hours here. It should be, according to the map here. Kingston is in the center of this storm. And looking at the weather radar in Jamaica here for the last hour or two, you can see those storms coming in here on the eastern side first, and that conditions will continue to deteriorate from Port Antonio, Spanish Town to Kingston, and then they'll take the brunt of it on the eastern side. And then once the winds switch direction onshore to the southwest and come in like that over here, once the eye and the eye wall passes this area, then that's when the water surge, storm surge, and all that's going to push into the bay and inlets, and you're going to have that 4 to 9 feet storm surge, and the flooding, possibly street flooding and things of that nature. Power outages for most of the island is, it's about 80 to 90% certainty if the winds, pick up, and if we get those hurricane winds affecting most of the island. Not everybody will see the hurricane winds, but most people will get winds above 60 for sure if it traverses the island like the way they have it depicted here. So I want to show you the tracks here. This is the tracks of all the models of the system here. Right now you can see it. This is the first data point with 990 millibars. You can see the tracks here. Take it across the Yucatan Peninsula, and if you notice that this is the consensus track here, and it takes it right in the middle here to Texas. After it hits the Yucatan Peninsula, there's a second landfall, possibly as a category 1 or 2 storm into the Texas area here, possibly into it looks like Victoria, could be Victoria, Port Lavaca, Corpus Christi area, something like that. Now you notice that some of the tracks are shifting further east here. Some want to take it up by Lake Charles, Louisiana, Houston, Texas, Beaumont. Those areas are certainly into play here because it's being steered by this high pressure. So it all depends on the steering currents and what reemerges after it gets off the Yucatan Peninsula here. And so also, this here is the track for the model track guidance here for the other system here, for the other computer models here. And you can see that does take them into Mexico and Texas. But like I said, this is not set in stone. We will know more once it emerges out of Jamaica and out of Cayman Islands on Thursday afternoon. The computer models will have a better handle on this because right now there's a lot of different outside environmental factors with this system. But it's very interesting that the storm has an eye that is hidden. It is there, but it's hidden. It's a closed eye, but it's a hidden eye that's clouded over. And it's also very interesting that the storm is moving quickly, but most of the convection now is on the northern and northwest side. The eastern side and southern side doesn't have that much convection going on with it. And so it seems to be undergoing a structural reorganization, not an eye wall replacement cycle at this time. And that may be good news, more good news for Jamaica and as well as Cayman Islands. And also the fact that it's moving fast. It'll be a quick moving system here. Also, I want to mention for our friends in Haiti, they're still getting rain. They can get an additional 2 to 3 inches of rain on that peninsula, the Tiburon Peninsula right here. And so please stay indoors there too as well. You don't want to. There's probably a lot of flooded streets and stuff like that. The water will recede obviously later on tonight, but right now you want to stay indoors in those low-lying areas that are not in the mountains on that peninsula there. And so Dominican Republic, you're out of the watch warning area as well for this time frame. It's just Haiti with the tropical storm warning in blue, and then we have Jamaica, Grand Cayman, and the Yucatan Peninsula that is in the hurricane warnings right now. In Belize, you're under a tropical storm watch, so you're no longer under a hurricane warning. You're under tropical storm watch right now in Belize, denoted in yellow, as well as the northern portions of the Yucatan Peninsula and the Bay of Campeche. So It is possible now that once we get into Thursday morning, that the tracks may shift with the system either further northwest, and they may project the cone more further northwest, possibly involving more of the Houston, Beaumont, Lake Charles, Louisiana area. It's possible that this whole cone could shift further eastward as we go through time. And I suspect that's going to happen because the system is moving more to the northwest now than it had been due west of north, as denoted by the National Hurricane Center. So we'll know more about that Thursday morning once it's past the Cayman Islands or just before. But for us, Kingston, the main impacts are going to be almost a direct hit. As far as the satellite image shows here, it will be very close here. That Kingston will get close to a direct hit from this system. Category 4, winds somewhere between 130 and 140 miles an hour, sustained. Pressure is up, like I said. We'll get the 5 p.m. advisory, and I do expect the pressure to continue to come up, possibly in the 960 millibar range, but the winds are not going down that much because of the interaction with the wind shear, the hurricane's interaction with the wind shear, and possibly lesser dry air, and more land interaction. And so the other thing is that could help it, like I said, is the Blue Mountains and the interaction with the terrain up there could help break it apart, the circulation. And so it could be downgraded here to a category 3 once it emerges off the coast of Jamaica. But we won't know that until after it makes landfall and to see what type of interaction happens with that. So I just wanted to bring you with that, the update here for that. But in the meantime, Jamaica, let us know what you're experiencing. You should be getting some light to moderate rain and some gusty winds from time to time as these bands wrap around here. The eastern coast of Jamaica from Puerto Maria to Port Antonio, Spanish Town, and also Kingston. But Kingston is the focal point because somewhere just to the east of Kingston is where we're going to get the storm surge in the bay, and we're going to get the hurricane force winds coming in initially anywhere from 80 to 100 miles an hour, with sometimes gusting to 125 or 130. That should be coming in the next 2 hours from now, according to the radar, as it's only 45 miles out or 70 kilometers out from that northern eye wall, making contact with Kingston, Jamaica, and all points east from Port Antonio, St. Andrew, all of that eastern parish. Then it would traverse over toward the Blue Mountains and the western parishes later on today. I believe Jamaica's hour behind the Eastern Standard Time, so it'll be around 3 or 4 o'clock your time, Jamaica local time, and then from there, the worst of it will be over around 10 or 11 p.m. tonight, just before midnight, and everything, the worst of it will be over, and it'll just be tropical storm conditions, cloudy, overcast skies, occasional drizzle, and some occasional tropical storm force gusts to 30, 40 miles an hour. But the system will be pulling away from you, heading toward Cayman, and you'll be getting left with a strong southwest breeze. Like I said, once again, with those tropical storm conditions. But on the western side of this system, you'll notice that the tropical storm conditions are actually cut off. So it's just a slim part on the western side. Once it's lopsided, most of the tropical storm conditions are lopsided to the eastern part of this system. The 185 miles of tropical storm winds extend out mostly on the eastern side, the periphery of the system, more so than on the forward western side of it, the weaker side of the system, and the southern side. So that's the good news for Jamaica and for Cayman Islands as well, and also as we continue on. So this has been the big issue. So once again, just to recap, Kingston, in the next 2 hours, you should be receiving the hurricane force winds or close to it, according to the satellite image, and that will last for about 4 to 6 hours, and then it will subside, and then you'll get a break. Then the backside will come on shore, and the winds will switch direction to the southwest, and that will be the storm surge coming in anywhere on the order, supposedly, of allegedly, according to the reports, of 4 to 8 inches, 4 to 9 feet of storm surge. Okay, and then after that, it will subside more, and then we'll go into the next phase, which will be the backside with heavy rains and thunderstorms on that backside. So that's what we're looking at here. I just wanted to give you the 2 p.m. update. We'll be back with 5 p.m. update for more, and we expect continuing weakening with this, but it still most likely be a category 4 when it makes landfall with winds somewhere around 130 miles an hour, 125 to 130 miles an hour, higher gust, of course. And that's what we're looking at. Historic landfall here, possibly for Kingston, Jamaica, and all points east and all points of Jamaica will be affected by this storm in one way or the other, whether there's the rain, the mudslides, the power outages, or direct wind damage from a system of this magnitude. The first major hurricane of the year, first major hurricane that we've had in a long time. And it's just a weird, odd system here. pressure's coming up, but it's good news. 959 millibars. It should continue to come up on the 5 p.m. advisory, as well as the wind should come down just a little bit, maybe 5 miles an hour. So it'll be down to maybe 135 or 130, depending on what the Hurricane Center decides. Flight level ones were pretty high, but that, remember, you have to take off 30%. Because that doesn't always mix down to the surface, obviously. But they said they found enough to sustain it at 140, I believe. And so we just have to wait and see how that plays out. But either way, 130, 140, is still a Category 3 or above storm, and it's gonna cause some problems here later on tonight as we work our way into the night. So I just want to bring you that update there. If you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments. I'll be able to answer them a little bit later. I thank you for listening. This is the Weather Guru signing off.